Well, hello, it's Paul Wheelock and welcome to a special Blood Red podcast to react to the release of the summary of Liverpool's annual financial accounts. Hopefully you've had the chance to read about it on the Liverpool Echo's website, but we're going to delve a little deeper now with someone who should be a familiar voice to our listeners and who is an expert in this field. It's University of Liverpool lecturer, author and one half of the excellent Price of Football podcast. It's Kieran Maguire. Kieran, how are you?
I'm very good, Paul. With the exception of being a Brighton fan, I'm somewhat nervous. And we're talking just before our derby match, which I appreciate nobody in the world understands apart from us, Palace. But it still occupies our minds somewhat.
Yeah, it's not been a bad season for Brighton, is it? I know when I've seen them against Liverpool and against Everton, and anytime they've ever been on the TV, they play some good football, but there's still a few concerns about that position in the table, I imagine.
Yes, yeah. I think we spent the first half of the season convincing ourselves that the football was too good for us to go down, and then we realised actually it's not. It's not about performances. It's about results. So the mindset has changed. But we're still very positive. We're hoping Liverpool have got the Premier League well sewn up before they come to the Amex later this season.
Yeah, and
give us a chance.
Hopefully, do you a favour with victory against Watford as well on Saturday, because they're another of the teams.
We'll be cheering them on.
Cheering them on. But yeah, best of luck in that game. Imagine, as you said there, your thoughts come later this afternoon and on Saturday will be consumed by that match. But I imagine you've been a busy man this week, given the fact that Liverpool have released this summary, if not the full account yet, of their financial report of the year ending May 31st, 2019. I imagine there's been a lot of people on the phone asking for your opinion.
Yes, and it seems to have exploded, the interest in football and finance, and clearly with the Manchester City story as well, which I suspect we'll touch on during the course of this conversation. Everyone's got an interest. Doesn't matter what football team you support. I think there's a huge amount of sympathy to the supporters of Bury Football Club, and there'll be lots of people looking around saying, well, how could I actually cope with every Saturday afternoon going through what it's like for international break, which is a pretty boring and miserable experience for us club football fans. And to have to go through that 38 Saturdays on the trot, if you're a Bury fan, it must be an absolutely soul-destroying experience.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the podcast, isn't it? And the success of your podcast, Price of Football, the fact that there is this broad church of clubs. It's not just Liverpool, it's not just Everton, it's not Manchester United, Manchester City. It's the whole pyramid almost, isn't it? And included, obviously, the unfortunate case of Bury.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we're all bricked in the same wall. Yeah, that's, and I think all football fans recognise that, and that's why there was so much universal support for Bury during the course of their demise. And there for the grace of God go many clubs.
Most definitely. Well, from one extreme to the other, with Bury to Liverpool, from a team that's starting again at the bottom of the pyramid to Liverpool, the one who's at the top. And the headline figures are out there. Liverpool have released a statement, which obviously the Echo have picked up, and in the coming days, or certainly in the coming weeks, we'll be able to see the accounts in full. But what did you make of the headline figures from Liverpool?
I think they're a superb set of results. I think the club's business model is very much coming through that if they generate extra money, then that will go straight into the squad. It will go into the infrastructure, spending all on the good things in football as far as we want to see it in fans. And also, I think it's testament to the quality of the club's decision making. Not only have they spent money, but they've spent money well. If you're spending money in the 30 to 40, 50 million pound bracket, then you would expect to get things right 9 times out of 10. And I think Liverpool have certainly delivered on that. Whereas if you look at other clubs, Manchester United have been fairly hit and miss in their transfer market. Arsenal signed Pepe for 60, 70 million, and he's struggling to get off the bench. And other clubs have not managed to turn what I'd call probables into certainties into the same degree as Liverpool, and that has worked both in terms of delivering the Champions League and the World Club Championship, but also it's allowed them to reward those players as well with extended contracts, and that's one I think of the big things which has come through from this set of accounts, is that the money that they generated last year from their success has been very much reinvested.
can remember actually speaking for the first time with yourself after the Champions League final in Kiev, and I remember you stating on the podcast we did around that time that Liverpool could spend £150 million that summer, which would have been the summer of 2018, and over the course of the season that followed. But as you say, these figures actually show that they exceeded that.
Yes, they spent well over £200 million. In terms of investment in players, they were second only to Chelsea last season in terms of recruitment. Chelsea spent nearly £300 million, but can you name any of their players?
No, I was staggered when I seen that on your top. I thought it must be Man City first, but then I seen Chelsea.
Exactly. I know they signed a goalkeeper, and they're now going, somebody called Itch. I was genuinely struggling.
Yeah.
And they've not even got a centre forward.
Yeah.
So I think what Liverpool achieved was that they identified where the squad needed to be improved in terms of the spine. Clearly, the signing of Alisson was everybody went wow when it happened, but it's been proven to be a bargain. They could get their money back and more if they wanted to get rid of him today, but clearly they wouldn't. And that has allowed them to change the style of play, effectively using him as one of these sweeper keepers. And they've gone from strength to strength. To have lost one match in the last a season and 2/3 has shown that the investment in players has worked non-stop.
I mentioned then a chart on your Twitter account at Kieran Maguire, and there's another one there that actually shows that Liverpool's transfer spending under FFG over the last decade from 2010 to 2019 is pretty significant. We'll come into the fact that they do balance the book so well, and what you mentioned earlier in terms of the savvy decision making, but they have put money up, haven't they, for transfers over this first 10 years of their reign?
Yes, I mean they spent over £1 billion. But what I think Liverpool have been very good at is recouping money as well. So, Coutinho sale, Suarez, Sterling, there's $250 million back straight away, and they've made plenty of other decent-sized sales. Their net spend is relatively low. I mean, certainly by the big six standards, they're way behind United, Chelsea, and Manchester City. And I think they're broadly level with Arsenal, and Spurs. Spurs don't like spending money on players.
No.
I think in terms of bang per buck, as it were, Liverpool have got to be commended. And whilst I think there were issues initially with sort of the Moneyball style, to which they have been associated with, that clearly has paid dividends over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. And they're in an incredibly strong position, because remember, Liverpool effectively spent next to nothing in the summer 2019 market. They signed Niamato in January, but that was again a bargain fee.
Yes.
So they will go into this summer's transfer market full of cash. They'll be in a very strong position, but I suspect some of that money will go on offering the likes of Van Dijk an extended contract, because he is the best defender in the world. And the first thing Liverpool want to do, he's clearly very happy at Anfield, is to make sure that he feels that he's the best defender in the world, because both Barcelona and Real Madrid are in decline, and when they're in decline, they just get the checkbook out. So I think Liverpool can just submit. That would be the best signing that Liverpool will do this year.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because they did do that, didn't they, in the period between 2018 and 19, between Kiev and Madrid. Salah, Mane, Firmino, Trent, Robertson, Henderson, they all got new contracts. It's just really clever planning, it seems, on the club's behalf.
Yes, I think they clearly, I'm a man, as you know, that likes a spreadsheet, but I suspect that Liverpool have got one, and they are planning out not what's going to happen during the summer of 2020, but they're planning out the next 5 years. They'll be aware of, as players are getting older, they'll already be planning for their replacement, but also identifying which ones need a contract extension and making sure they get those contract extensions in early, because they don't want a situation, as we've seen with the likes of Aaron Ramsey at Arsenal or Ross Barkley at Everton, where by allowing things to drift, or value of the player really collapses over the course of the last 12 months of the contract.
But if Liverpool do want to spend this summer, I totally agree with you. I think a deal for Virgil van Dijk or any other player who's maybe not tied down to a longer deal or maybe a more profitable deal, they have got the money to spend on players though if they want to this summer.
Yes. I think they can both recruit and they can retain, which is an excellent position to be in. They will have they'll get bonuses from winning the Premier League, and I think I know I share an office with a Liverpool fan, Chris, and he'll hate me for saying this. They've won it. Let's stop the nonsense. They've won it and deservedly so. So therefore there'll be bonuses coming in from sponsors. They'll be planning for a life with Nike as well. So that will boost the coffers. And going into next year's Champions League as champions actually increases the money you get, because UEFA have a variety of pots of money that they distribute between clubs, one of which is based on where you finished in your domestic league the previous year. So that pot, 40% goes to the team that comes first, 30% second, 20% third, and 10% fourth. So Liverpool will be getting lots of small sums of money. We're talking small as in sort of 2 or 3 million. But you add all of those up, and with the change to the way that the overseas Premier League rights are now going to be distributed, some of that will be going to Liverpool as well, because that will be based on their final place in the season. So all of these things are just adding up, plus. They've also reduced the amount of money that they owe to FSG. So you knock £20 million off the loan, that reduces your interest cost. If you contrast their approach to that of Manchester United, and there was a big kerfuffle earlier this week when Manchester United announced their results and their net debt had gone up, Manchester United has spent over £800 million in interest to the banks. Well, that's money that could have been invested in the squad, although when you look at some of United's signings, such as Di Maria and Phil Jones and so on, perhaps it's better going to the bank manager than buying players of that ilk.
It is really interesting because, as you say, and I agree completely, I think it's only a matter of time before Liverpool win the Premier League. I don't think we're tempting fate by saying it's a done deal, and for this season at least they will have overtaken Manchester City. I'm sure City will be back stronger than ever next season to challenge again, but Liverpool have certainly left Manchester United behind on the field. And I know you've been saying this week and have said in previously that this is going to have an impact, not obviously on the Premier League table itself, but on the income table, where traditionally Liverpool have been behind the Manchester clubs in recent years. But do you think this could change soon?
Very much so. I mean, since the formation of the Premier League, Manchester United have been top of it every single year, and that's understandable. They've got the biggest stadium, regardless of whether you hate United or hate United. They are a global phenomenon in terms of their fan base, and they're very popular with broadcasters as a result of that. So they've always been good at generating matchday commercial and broadcasting income. The gap does look, the gap is £94 million between the clubs, which sounds an awful lot, but the noises coming out of United is they're expecting their income this year to drop by around about 60 million because they're not participating in the Champions League. Liverpool, I'd expect their income to go up this year because they've got new sponsorship deals. They've now got the expansion of the stadium. Everything is fine-tuned there, so that everything that can be earned will be earned. And also, whilst this is a nerdy point, Liverpool's financial year end is the 31st of May. They won the Champions League last season, of course, on the 1st of June. So the bonus they get from winning that will come into this year's accounts, as will their participation in the European Super Cup. And of course, you've then got the FIFA World Club Championship participation fees and the fees for winning that, all of which, it's just a series of positives. It is the perfect storm. They will never get a better chance to knock Manchester United off that Deloitte Money League perch.
Yeah, very interesting, and music to Liverpool fans' ears, no doubt. And without being too, what's probably the word, a bit playful here, but I'm sure Liverpool fans weren't crying when they found out about Manchester City, the fact that they've been kicked out of Europe for the next 2 years after being found to have breached financial fair play rules. Again, it's something that we've spoke about in the past, and now it seems like the chickens have come home to roost. Saying that though, City this week have said that they will appeal against the ban. What do you make of it all, and what happens now?
Well, sort of trying to get into the detail is proving almost impossible because Manchester City have asked that the ruling of the adjudicating committee be kept private because they are appealing to CAF. Looking at this, it appears that City's ban wasn't for breaking financial fair play rules because they've already been sanctioned for that. They were punished in 2014. They were given a squad reduction, a wage cap, and a fine. So they've actually been punished for the breach of financial fair play rules. This appears to be for misrepresentation of their commercial income. So that's the allegation which has been made by UEFA. City, of course, have denied this. And it's gone before an independent panel, and I appreciate that many City fans think that there's some form of conspiracy theory against them. I don't think that is. There are a lot of people that don't like the Manchester City hierarchy. Some of them are from established clubs in Europe. I think we know which countries we're talking about there, because they don't like the idea of new money.
Yeah.
City will fight this tooth and nail. I think the first thing that they will be doing in terms of their appeal to CAF will be to say that if this is going to take a long time, they would appeal for a suspension
yes.
of the ban until a final ruling is made. Now, where they will get with that, a lot will depend on whether UEFA applied the appropriate procedures when they gave their judgment, and I think City do have some pretty strong evidence to support that initial claim for a suspension, and then the case itself. How long is it going to take? How long is a piece of string? The lawyers and the accountants and the financiers will be going through every single document they can unearth. They will be doing lots of comparative analysis, looking at City's finances compared to other clubs who have not been sanctioned, and I think PSG would be the clear one that we're trying to use there. They'll also be looking at close links between Juve and Fiat and Bayern Munich and BMW and Audi and all of these institutions to say, well, it's not only us that benefit from having rich owners, etc. We've got rich owners who are effectively a state organisation compared to other clubs having owners who have very close links with corporate entities. So they'll be doing whatever they can, and you can understand that. And whilst I think there's a bit of glee coming from other clubs, I think we all know if it was our club that was before the judge, we'd hope they'd be doing something of a similar nature.
Very true. Very true. Does it feel like a watershed moment, this, though, for UEFA and financial fair play? You rightly pointed out that it does feel like a different thing to what City have been found guilty of in the past. But does this feel like the future of FFP and UEFA's kind of financial controls rest on this outcome? If City were to win, would we have to see like the whole ripped up and start again almost?
I think this is bigger for UEFA than it is for Manchester City. I think UEFA's credibility is very much on the line with this taking place. And if City were to win, how would UEFA have any credibility in terms of future sanctions? Because this is their flagship case. Previously, when they've had dealings with the big clubs effectively have got off either with a go on the naughty step, don't do it again, but not a significant punishment. We have seen lots of sort of horse trading take place. You've only got to look to see what happened with Milan this season, who were initially threatened with a 2-year ban by UEFA, and then Milan said, we won't even bother to contest it, we'll take a 1-year voluntary ban. And the reason why they did that, I strongly suspect, was they'd only qualified for the Europa League through their Serie A final status last season, and therefore they thought, well, we're not particularly bothered about hosting Albanian's second best team on Thursday night. So we'll take a 1-year ban from that, and we'll try to qualify for the Champions League in 2020-21. Because if we do that, we crunch the numbers. They've been looking at their spreadsheets.
Yes, yeah.
And what they will have done is that they will realise that you get 4 times as much money from Champions League participation as you do from the Europa League. So they're actually better off taking a 1-year ban and trying to qualify for the Champions League next season.
Yeah.
So there's always politics taking place. UEFA is a highly politicised organisation, like all governing bodies are of major sports. But yeah, I think we're all sort of we're going to get through an awful lot of popcorn in terms of the Manchester City case.
And it's against that backdrop that Liverpool can basically silently go about the business, continue with the success they're having on and off the field. They must feel pretty vindicated, because obviously the owners have been big advocates of FFP, and as we've touched on in this podcast and podcast previously, in terms of like balancing the books and cutting the cloth accordingly, it just does feel like Liverpool are in this great financial place at the moment, and we all know how well it's going on the field as well.
That's right. I mean, I think whoever is the finance director should change his name to Maida. Everything is turning to gold. The wage bill went up significantly, but it's still only around about 60% of income, so that's way within the UEFA red flag is at 70%. The value of money they invested in the playing squad has been rewarded in the trophies that they won last season and are about to win this season, and costs are under control, and they're paying down debt, which means that should the decision be approved, be positive in terms of a further expansion to Anfield, then they've certainly got the resources to do that without having a negative impact upon the long-term success of the squad and the team. You only got to look to see what happened with Spurs when they effectively expanded their stadium. They had to put recruitment on hold for a year, and they're feeling it very much this year in terms of they are struggling on the pitch because you've got to constantly replenish your squad. You can't afford to take a holiday for 2 or 3 transfer windows in the hope that things will improve and your existing team will keep on delivering the goods, because it only takes an injury to the likes of Harry Kane or somebody like Dele Alli losing a bit of form, and the players on whom you are over-dependent suddenly are taken out of the equation and you're struggling as a result.
Definitely, Kieran, and I think it's on that upbeat note we'll end this conversation, and thank you very much for your time again. No doubt we'll be talking again in the coming months after what probably will be a Premier League title win, and who knows, perhaps a second European Cup on the run as well. But first and foremost, thanks again for your time, and good luck in that big derby on Saturday.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure, Paul.